Setting personal goals is important for a happy and fulfilling life. So in today's video, we're gonna walk through the steps of setting personal goals, including the 7 aspects of goal setting theory that will help you increase your effort and your performance into reaching your goals. Just to make sure we're all on the same page when we're talking about goals, I quickly want to define the term. A goal is simply what you and I as an individual are trying to do. And when I'm talking about personal goals, I mean goals that are set with an intrinsic interest and they align with your identity. You pursue a certain goal out of strong personal interest and conviction, not because you're pressured into pursuing them. And you can express yourself and your identity in pursuing these goals. You're not trying to impress. But why do we need goals? I think a compelling reason to set goals for yourself is that people who set goals for themselves are more likely to succeed in whatever they are doing. The biggest reason that setting goals for yourselves leads to more success is because when you set goals for yourself, your performance increases. Especially if you set goals for yourself that are specific, challenging, and goals that you want to reach within a set time frame. The harder and challenging a goal, the greater your performance. However, there is a big but here. If you do not believe you can reach your goals, if you don't think your goals are attainable, your performance and your motivation is going to suffer. You gotta believe that you can reach your goals. And this has a lot to do with confidence, which I will come back to in a bit. But when you set goals, you're making a commitment. And that commitment tells ourselves and others that we can overcome obstacles in our journey towards that goal. And now onto the most important part of this video. How to set personal goals that will make us happier and set us up for success. People with a rat racer's mindset, and I'll link my video on this mindset up here, but they often have goals in mind with an extrinsic or materialistic value. Rat racers tend to set goals to be judged by others in what they perceive as a positive way. And their focus is on the end result. It's on the future. However, to set personal goals, we gotta look at what we want because of an intrinsic value. Pursue goals that lead to personal growth or that let us connect to others or lets us contribute to a cause that we find important. For example, I started this YouTube channel because I think that the conversation that I'm trying to start here is really important, and making these kind of videos taps into my creativity, and therefore it is really meaningful to me and I enjoy making these videos. And obviously for that reason I would love for you to subscribe and like this video if you also get some value out of them, and if you don't, then that is fine as well. But ask yourself why you want something. For example, are you pursuing a career because of some extrinsic values such as status or money? Or are you pursuing a career because it is meaningful to you? For, let's say, go into medicine because you want to help people and not for the money or for the status. If you know what you want and why, how are you gonna get there? Set the goals. And as easy and simple as this sounds, there's a whole lot that goes into setting personal goals. I mean, there's a whole field of research on goal setting theory. So I'm gonna summarize it a bit for you here. I want you to set challenging goals for yourself. Reach high, and the effort that you put into reaching your goals is going to reflect that. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you wanna start running, and that is your goal, to start running. Well, you go outside, you start to run, and there you go, you've reached your goal. But that's not really what you want, right? You want to reach a certain level. So if you start from scratch, you are not able to run like a kilometer, you can say to yourself, okay, I want to run 5 kilometers without walking in between. That is now your goal, to run 5K. You'll plan out a training regime, get some running gear, and run multiple times a week to work on your stamina. And by doing so, you'll improve over time until you can run 5K. Set a challenging goal for yourself, because by doing so, you're gonna increase the effort you put into it and therefore increase your performance as well. Secondly, I want you to be specific in your goals. To keep with the same example, let's say you are now running 5K and your friend is really inspired and also wants to take up running, but she doesn't want there to be an option to fill. So instead of saying, I want to run 5K, she says, I'm just gonna do my best. But doing your best is really subjective because running once a week or running 3 times a week can both fall under doing your best, the same as running for 10 minutes or running for 30 minutes. Setting a goal for yourself to do your best in something leaves you without a target to reach for. And there's no way to measure your progress, so you lose your motivation pretty quickly. And all of this results in you putting less effort into reaching your goal. So be specific. When you're setting your personal goals, determine how and when you'll get feedback on your progress. And this is why you need to set specific and challenging goals, because they often provide you with loads of opportunities to get feedback on your progress. For example, if you have a goal of running 5K, but you keep getting out of breath after running for a kilometer and you don't notice a lot of progress, that tells you something about your training regime. It needs to change. And if you allow for feedback moments in your journey towards your goal, you can adjust your approach according to the feedback that you're getting. I want you to set deadlines. And yes, you heard that right, deadlines. Because it is all about the effort you put into reaching your goals. And setting deadlines increases that effort as well as it increases your performance. You want to run 5K, but you want to do it in 6 months. And based on this time frame, you might increase the number of times you go for a run per week. And you can plan your moments of feedback, let's say at 1, 3, and 5 months into your journey, and change your training regime accordingly. But keep your deadlines realistic. Maybe even do some research into your time frame, because if you start from scratch, you're not gonna run 5K in a week. 5. Commit to your goals. Simple, just put your words into action. And it shouldn't be too hard because you picked this goal for yourself. And this personal goal is the result of something that is important to you. You value what you are pursuing, so commit to it. I find it easier to commit to my goals if I tell others about it. I make my goal known and make a verbal commitment to it. And to use the same example, tell people that you want to run 5K. You might get some great tips out of it or even a training buddy. And then the big but that I've been hinting at. Be confident in your abilities to reach your goals. You gotta believe that the goals that you're setting for yourself are attainable. Because people that have higher confidence in their own abilities set higher goals for themselves. So maybe this should have come first. But here's the thing. There's some research that suggests that setting a high and challenging goal for yourself will actually increase your confidence in your own capabilities to reach that goal. You might have all the skills and knowledge you need and more, but if you're not confident in yourself, you're gonna set easier goals and be less committed to them. So therefore, I first want you to set challenging goals for yourself and then work on your confidence. Because more likely than not, your confidence will increase over time as you are working towards reaching your goals. Don't set an easier goal for yourself if you know deep down that you can do more. Set that challenging goal. Even if you not already have all the skills and knowledge you might need, you can learn. You can always learn. And that actually leads me to my next point. Set goals with a learning orientation, not a performance orientation. Because if you set performance-oriented goals, you're simply setting a score to a task as your goal. For example, a very straightforward performance-oriented goal would be getting an 8 for an exam. Setting a score for a task as your goal is more often than not a very extrinsic goal. Scores are used to describe your competence to others. This might result in a very narrow-minded approach into reaching your goals. Because getting that score and being judged by others as competent becomes more important than actually improving your skills or knowledge. And I can really recognize myself in this, because for courses where you had to learn from textbooks and you didn't necessarily have to practice skills like programming, I would start studying for an exam maybe 2 to 1.5 days in advance, and I would just study all day and all night because I knew that with this method, everything would be fresh in my head at the time of the exam and I could remember most of it. And for me, this method worked. I would get good grades doing this. But after the exam, I would be dead tired and all the adrenaline would just leave my body and I would sleep the rest of the day and just basically forget everything that I'd crammed into my head for the exam and not remember anything at all. Maybe a little bit of the information would stick, but when it comes down to it, I wasn't gaining knowledge, I was just getting good grades, getting that validation instead of actually improving myself. With a learning orientated goal, you're not setting a score for a task as your goal, you set actually mastering that task as your goal. And this is not measured by the score that you get for the task. This is measured by the number of strategies or the skills and the knowledge that you actually acquire in order to reach your goal to master the task, which is in itself intrinsic as it focuses on self-improvement rather than validation. Instead of wanting an 8 for the exam of a course, you actually want to master the learning objectives of that course, and therefore your focus is on actually gaining knowledge. And the fun thing is, by having this approach, you're probably gonna do just as good or even better on the exam. But you're actually improving and learning along the way instead of just getting that validation. And to quickly go back to our example goal of wanting to run 5K within 6 months, this is in a sense a performance-orientated goal because you're basically putting a score on your running skill, and that score could have also been 1K or a marathon. So maybe I chose a bad example because I feel like you can't really go running without a performance goal in mind, such as the duration or the speed or the distance that you want to run for. Otherwise, you're not really setting a specific and challenging goal for yourself, and there's no way to measure your progress and get feedback. But I still want to try and set a learning orientated goal for running 5K within 6 months. And in this case, I guess I would just literally put the words I want to learn into my goal. I want to learn to run 5K with an optimal training regime for me. And this leads to you doing research on which training regimes are out there and which might fit your goal best. And maybe you even dive into the nutritional side of being a runner. Anyways, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that by setting a learning orientated goal, your goal is basically intrinsic by default, as you're focusing on self-improvement. And if your goal is something meaningful to you, then there you have a personal goal. So let's quickly recap. You know what you want, and the reason why you want it is because of some intrinsic value, and therefore it has the potential to increase your happiness. You've set a challenging and specific goal that you want to reach within a certain time frame, and you are allowing for moments of feedback in your journey towards that goal. You are committed and you're confident in your own abilities to reach that goal and to further increase your effort, your skills, and your knowledge. You've set a learning orientated goal. And for the ones that are still watching, here is the punchline. You've got your goal, go after it. That's it. See how I'm not saying you have to reach your goal or go get your goal. That is not the point. Your personal goals are a means to an end. They are not the end. I don't want you to have goals simply so you can reach them. Remember, that is actually the trap of a rat racer, thinking that reaching your goals is going to make you happy when in fact, that is not true. I want you to have goals because having a goal lets you know that what you are doing right now is in the right direction, and therefore you can actually enjoy the moment. Personal goals reduce the have-tos in our life and increase the want-tos, because more often than not, you actually want to work on reaching a goal that is so personal and meaningful to you. And therefore, the journey towards reaching that goal is probably gonna be a pleasurable one, regardless of the outcome. And I know that the thought of failing to reach your goals is really scary. So scary actually that a lot of people set easier goals or no goals at all for themselves just to avoid the potential of failure. They're following that saying of lower your expectations of life and you'll never be disappointed. And I actually say this around as advice for being a happier person. But if you lower your expectations and you lower your goals, you might never fail and you might never be disappointed, but you will also never succeed at something great and be really fulfilled with life. Experiencing failure and disappointment doesn't mean that your life is unhappy. I've said it before and I will say it again. Your life will not and cannot consist of constant pleasurable moments. Is failure fun? No, of course not. Is disappointment fun? No. Are disappointment and failure a part of life? Yes. And I want to share my thoughts on how you can accept failure and disappointment as a part of a happy life in my next video. But for now, I will leave you with my video on what I think happiness is right here, and my playlists on why you might not be happy in life because of 3 very universal mindsets up here. And I hope to see you in my next video.